cleveland.com coming to you from Ohio State's off week. I'm Nathan Baird from cleveland.com, along with Stephen Means. What a difference a month has made for C.J. Stroud. You know, coming out of the Oregon game, even coming out of the Tulsa game, we were having some real conversations about, does Ohio State need to find out if there's a better quarterback on its roster? And now we're having real conversations about, could C.J. Stroud be a Heisman frontrunner going into the second half of this season? He's obviously had a pretty fantastic run here the last few weeks. He's put himself up to being, I think it's third in the nation in pass efficiency rating. He's fifth in yards per attempt, I think. And he's up there in touchdown passes, too, 18 total touchdown passes. So it's been a big surge for him over the last few weeks against competition that you would expect an Ohio State quarterback to go out and do pretty well against, quite frankly. But this is a quarterback award, and a lot of the quarterbacks that we expected to be the Heisman Trophy leaders at this point of the season, halfway through, have stunk. Yeah. Sam Howell is not really, from North Carolina, is not really a candidate at this point, I wouldn't say. Spencer Rattler didn't even finish the game in Oklahoma's last game and may not be their starting quarterback going forward. The guys who you thought about, like on the fringe, the De'Aaron Kings and the Michael Penix Jr. and some other guys like that have just completely fallen off due to injury or ineffectiveness or both. So how serious of a Heisman Trophy candidate is C.J. Stroud as we enter the second half of the season?
I think he might be one of three quarterbacks right now where it's a legitimate case, which is crazy to be saying. Bryce Young has a case at Alabama. Matt Corral has a case at Ole Miss. But even that case got kind of debunked when he went to Alabama and basically stunk it up. Every week it's basically been a big Ohio State freshman wins Big Ten Freshman of the Year award. It got boring, so I kind of put a little spin on it this week. Here are some numbers. Through 5 games as a starting quarterback. Quarterback A, 1,464 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions on 109 of 154 passing and 322 snaps. Quarterback B is 1,699 yards, 18 touchdowns, 3 interceptions on 104 of 157 passing on 309 snaps. Quarterback A is Dwayne Haskins, and he went on to set the record book on fire at Ohio State and ended up being a Heisman Trophy finalist. Quarterback B is what C.J. Stroud is right now. Obviously, I said through 5 games because C.J. Stroud did miss the game against Akron, so he's only going to be able to play 14 games. So he's on pace to start, messing around with some of Dwayne Haskins' record, especially the way these wide receivers are playing. And it doesn't seem like they haven't needed TreVeyon Henderson yet. That's a big factor of this. Can they get through these games where C.J. Stroud's throwing for 350 plus and 3 touchdowns every game and not have to use TreVeyon Henderson? Because every week that you get to, manage him a little bit is even better as you get closer to the end of the postseason. So right now, the numbers game is going to say C.J. Stroud is not only a Heisman Trophy candidate, he might be the favorite right now, which is a crazy thing to say, but, his competition are running backs. It's Bijan Robinson at Texas. It's Kenneth Walker at Michigan State. And obviously the 2 quarterbacks I named. But it's just, given where we were a month ago, now he might have the best case after 6 weeks.
Well, there's another running back that I think needs to be in the conversation, at least on the fringe of it, and that's the one that you just mentioned that's on his own roster. And what I'm eager to see in the second half, it's 2 things as it relates to C.J. Stroud and the numbers he could have to put up to be in the Heisman conversation. The first one is when a team does the opposite of what Maryland just did and loads up to take away the run and kind of early on. It seemed like they were really focusing on not letting Ohio State get the run game going. That opened up a lot of things in the passing game for C.J. Stroud, and because he's healthier than he was early in the season, he took full advantage of that, and he gets credit for that. But the second thing we need to see is a healthy C.J. Stroud against a good team. We saw what happens when a healthy C.J. Stroud doesn't play or plays a good team early on. It didn't go that well against Oregon. He put up numbers, but the efficiency wasn't at the level that I think you're seeing in these last couple games. When we even saw against Tulsa, it took even a dip off of that. So we expect, I think, the next time he has to play a good defense, that it should look better because he's healthier than he was then. That shoulder got healthy by taking the week off against Akron. But the defenses he still has to face, whether that's Penn State, whether that's Michigan, whether that's even someone like Michigan State, and I think actually even against Indiana here coming up a week from Saturday, those are different tests. So he has definitely raised the floor from where he was a month ago and given himself a nice platform to get things started and to make this case in some bigger games down the stretch. But the tests are going to be tougher, and I think Ohio State is going to have to rely on the balance and using TreVeyon Henderson more to get through some of those games.
That's because, C.J. Stroud didn't play well against Oregon, but TreVeyon Henderson didn't really play well either. I think he had 54 yards on 12 carries. So maybe that's good. We're going to find out the answer of who's the best Heisman Trophy candidate, and maybe they get both. Who knows? The Heisman race is wide open right now. But who plays better in these games that now matter? Who is the reason why they beat Penn State? Who is the reason they beat Indiana, Michigan, Big Ten championship game, Michigan State? Who is the reason they win each and every one of those games? And if what is it, 6 games? If C.J. Stroud is the reason why they win 4 of them, while TreVeyon Henderson is the reason they win 2 of them, then C.J. Stroud's your better Heisman Trophy candidate. But if it's reversed, then it's probably TreVeyon Henderson, which is an interesting spot to be in for a team who 3 weeks ago we were wondering what the heck was going on around here.
There's another thing that goes into this, and that's the Heisman moment. And Ohio State's going to be favored in every game they play the rest of the season, I'm pretty sure. There was a time when I wasn't sure about that in the Michigan game, but I think that probably will be the case now. So it's not like they're going to be favored to win every game coming in. What do you do on the field that kind of provides that sort of Heisman moment? And of the 2 guys that Ohio State has on its roster, it's more likely to come from TreVeyon Henderson, I think. You saw in 2019, Justin Fields had gets hurt, goes into the medical tent, comes back in against Michigan, throws a touchdown on his first play. Like, you can't plan for those things. They happen organically, and they happen in a way that makes everybody's head spin a little bit. And you're like, what did I just see? I don't think C.J. Stroud's had that moment yet. TreVeyon Henderson has sort of had some moments that are a little bit closer to that. What he does breaking out and getting into the open field. It's more impressive than threading the needle on a pass. It just is. And it's one of the things that goes viral in a different way than you just made a tough pass.
Fair. I think he's had them. They just didn't matter because the game was decided. I think he had one where he avoided a defender and then hit Chris Olave down the sideline. But it didn't matter because the game.
That's impressive, but it's not a Heisman moment.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll see. We'll see. I do think TreVeyon, because he's a running back, it's a little bit more set up for him to get to the second level and do it. But we'll see. That's another interesting element to this. Who's better in those games, but then who has the moment you remember from that regular season? And I do agree that TreVeyon Henderson's maybe a little bit more set up to do that.
We'll know it when we see it, and we'll let you know when we see it via the text, 614-350-3315. We'll keep them coming all this week, regardless of Ohio State being off, and we'll definitely have them back going next week as we're getting ready for Ohio State to play at Indiana on October 23rd.